What is going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders. I am very grateful to have your attention, at least for the next 15 minutes of this episode. Forward Thinking Founders is a podcast where I interview pre-seed and seed stage founders about their products, what they want to build into the world, and why. We dive into how they spend their time, what's their vision, what's their origin stories, all these things, so you can learn all about what's coming tomorrow. Because these companies haven't hit critical scale yet. Most of them haven't hit product market fit. These are just early stage companies, and the big question is, what can this be? And in this podcast, we bring that out. So with that, I really hope you enjoy your time listening to today's episode. And I've already done 200 plus, so if you like this one, listen to some of the other ones, like with Imadi Kund, Austin Allred, Leah Culver. We have great interviews, so check it out, enjoy the repository, and for now, let's get into today's episode. Here we go. All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders. We talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Saket Kumar, who is a co-founder of Vitt. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, Matt. Yeah, I'm really good. It's a lovely day here in London, classic December gloom. How's the day been treating you?
Pretty good. You know, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, have productive morning, already on the second cup of coffee, which will probably come out in this episode with my, exorbitant energy. But, what can you do? Well, this podcast is not about coffee or energy or weather. This is about your company and what you're working on. So my first question for you is, what are you working on? What is Vitt?
Vitt is fast, non-dilutive, founder-friendly cash for growing SaaS businesses, both venture-backed and bootstrapped, giving founders instant access to cash upfront rather than monthly billing. The mission statement is very simple, letting founders both own and grow their business. So if you're a SaaS business that wants to raise capital and you have some contracts that you've signed, then you can come to us.
All right, so let's say I'm a startup, which I am. What stage do you kind of entertain funding a company? And just like walk me through actually just kind of an average experience of a startup that comes to you and gets funding.
So in terms of what type of startup and like what stage, like we start like pretty early on. So anything above 100,000 annual recurring revenue, which is roughly 8.4K monthly, and we scale all the way up. And the only kind of requirement, at least for right now, is that you have monthly billing on your end customers, at least some customers with monthly billing. To your second question of what the flow looks like, you come on Vitt.sh, because it's a techie joke for shell script. You come on Vitt.sh, you register your account, you verify your account, and then you're on the Vitt dashboard. And all you need to do is connect a couple of data sources, your bank account and your accounting information and potentially your Stripe, which is less than 10 clicks. You put in how much you want to fund out. So let's say you want to get 100K, you put that in, and then we get back to you within 24 hours with an offer.
And tell me, why did you decide to start this?
Cool. So I was a VC for 3 years out here in Europe. Initially had a fund called Global Founders Capital, and then later had a fund called La Familia, like an early stage B2B fund based out in Berlin. And I just saw these like phenomenal businesses come into offices and just unnecessarily selling kind of 20-25% of their business for what felt like kind of no reason, right? Like once a company is like relatively mature, like why are you selling that much of your business? So I think that was a kind of genesis, right? And I think the second thing is I kind of dived in more to that space. I just realized in particular that there were a bunch of bootstrap founders who had been really locked out of capital markets. If you have a steady state business, let's say, 200-300K ARR growing 20% year on year, it's kind of absurd that the financing options for you are pretty non-existent. Like ventures aren't interested in those sorts of companies. Banks are going to lend to those sorts of companies. And so, yeah, the more we dove into the space, we realized both that they're venture-backed companies who are probably giving up too much dilution, but then there's a whole range of bootstrapped companies who little to no kind of financing out there for them.
I'm curious, what do you spend your time on, like on a day-to-day? Like, do you spend your time similar to how you spent your time as a VC, or is that a little different funding startups as a founder yourself?
So yeah, it's a bit different from being a VC for sure. I mean, the team's pretty small. I'm managing kind of many hats all at the same time. So a typical day, like we always kick it off with the daily. So we do that at 8:15. So kick it off, see what everyone's working on. And then, so for example, I can even open up my calendar and just talk you through what I did today. That's probably the most fun and most accurate. So synced with the team around a couple of organizational issues. had a couple of customer calls. We had a couple of inbound investors who we gave an update to, chatted about product, a couple of changes we want to make on the UX, did a lot of sales, right? So getting customers through the funnel and a lot of customer support as well. So, people that, hey, I don't understand this, whatever kind of response to that. So it's like, just jumping around doing a million different things and plugging as many holes as I can, I guess, for want of a better way to frame it.
Obviously you don't fund like every company in the world. Like I got an idea yesterday, great, like funding, right? So I guess like my question is, there a stage that is, too early? I guess it's before that revenue mark, but is there also a stage that's too late, or do you work with kind of any stage of company once they're in a certain amount of revenue?
So right now we'll talk to anyone who's above that 100K kind of ARR mark. At a certain point, if you're at like a super large scale, it's possible for you to kind of get cheaper cost of financing potentially, right? You might be able to get a bank line, like for example, Zoom, right, is able to just do a bond issuance, right? I'm at a very extreme example. But even, if you're like a 5-10 million ARR SaaS business, I mean, customers still talk to us. They still have a dearth of options, to be honest. So like we scale pretty deeply with our customers. I mean, beyond a certain point, then yeah, maybe they're cheaper sources of capital, more convenient sources of capital, but yeah, we get pretty big.
And tell me kind of what's the big vision here, in 5, 10, 15 years, where do you see kind of Vitt being in the world?
Cool. So, I mean, I think like step one is, lending out, right? Giving a kind of new source of capital for many founders out there. But I think what I'm really excited by is that what's the step beyond that, right? Which is that I think capital is coming into the space pretty ubiquitously, right? There's quite a few players out there doing alternate types of financing, from e-commerce to SaaS to all across the spectrum. And I think what we're really excited by is that if you're a SaaS business, I think in 2-3 years, your options will become increasingly complex, right? Right now, it's essentially equity or nothing. And it's slowly becoming equity and players like us, and then nothing. And I'm sure that more and more complex and sophisticated financial products will be built. And then as that happens, I think that second order effect of that is you almost need an investment banker on your team, right? But if you're a 2 million ARR SaaS business, like Goldman's not going to service you, right? The economics don't make sense. And I think that's what we're excited about. It's like bringing essentially those, almost the way to view it as like DCM kind of services into products, data-driven products for our founders, right? We kind of jokingly call it kind of Goldman SaaS. But I think that's the kind of vision kind of going forward, right? Like really, everyone's trying to build a CFO as a service or a neobank, but why doesn't someone just build Goldman on a web app? And I think that's where we want to be in the long run.
Goldman Sachs. That is, I'm not going to forget that. That's awesome. That's good. But okay, so to make that happen, which is a really exciting vision, you need some help, right? I mean, it takes a village to make a startup work and scale. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help? Are you hiring, looking for capital yourself, looking for founders to fund? How can we assist?
Cool. And so firstly, like if you're a founder, apply, right? Vitt.sh. Like even if you're not looking for financing, A, you'll be surprised at how convenient the flow is, but also B, like any product feedback we love, right? If you say, hey, this is a friction here, I didn't like this is unclear, it's super appreciated, right? All feedback is always super, super appreciated. So yeah, if I'm running a SaaS business, just go over to Vitt.sh and apply. And the second thing is that we're always hiring for fantastic people. So yeah, go on our careers page and just apply. Like we like to believe that we're building one of the best teams on the planet here. We're very picky, but that means your potential future colleagues are phenomenal. And we're always looking for more phenomenal people.
And if someone wanted to learn more or find you online, where can they find you? Do you have a website, social media, email address? Where can they find you online?
Cool. So the website is vitt.sh, so vitt.sh. Email, just ping me directly, saket@vitt.sh, Saket, SAKET at vitt.sh. And then you can also DM me on Twitter, which is Saket Kumar, so SAKETRKUMAR. My DMs are always open. So yeah, even if you don't want to talk about Vitt and there's just something you think I can help you with, just ping me. I like to be, people's lucky breaks. People have been very kind to me in my career, so I try to pay it forward as best I can.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, and best of luck building this out. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks for having me. Have a lovely day. Ciao.